Welcome to Voices Uniting Everyone. I'm your host, Larry Davis. In this show, we discuss ways Austin Community College works to love all our students to success by making sure they feel like they belong and are truly welcome here. Finding purpose and community helps unite us as one, which is what we're all about. This ultimately helps our students start here and get there to wherever their goals may be. Today, we have a professor that teaches a pivotal and very successful class called Learning Framework, Effective Strategies for College Success. It's a class that prepares students for the rigor and demands college-level programs can require. The class focuses on tools and strategies to ensure a student starts strong and moves forward with real success. In fact, our data has shown students across all race and ethnicity groups persist at a higher rate from semester to semester after taking a success course. So let's meet Dr. Amber Sarker. She has a Bachelor of Arts and Master's of Arts in Teaching from Madonna University and a Doctorate of Philosophy and Developmental Education from Texas State. She's been with ACC since 2020. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sarker.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, this is a joy personally for me as well. Now, before we dive into our belonging discussion, Amber, tell us a little bit about your teaching philosophy and what about developmental education, why you chose that for a career, and why as a professor teach at a community college?
Awesome. So I actually used to teach third grade before I went to college level teaching. And no matter what age group I've taught, my philosophy has been the same, which is I want people to feel like they're a member of a classroom community. I want people to feel welcome, that they can contribute, be their authentic selves. And so I really take that to heart and make sure that's something that comes across. I chose developmental education specifically because as somebody who was starting to work in college formats, I noticed that some people knew those unwritten rules of college, you know, like how to register for classes early, all that stuff. And some people didn't because, you know, maybe they didn't have family members who had attended college and they're the first generation. So I wanted to get a PhD in developmental education so that way I could make sure all students were able to successfully navigate college, which is exactly what this course is. So I kind of feel like I'm kind of in the center of my bullseye as far as, you know, job goals go. So pretty excited.
I'm excited too because it was a college success class and a couple of caring instructors who helped me when I attended college be successful as well.
I love that.
Now, you started ACC during the pandemic.
Yes. Especially
spring of 2020. Tell us a little bit about that journey. What was some challenges you faced as a faculty member and, of course, students as well, some challenges, and what was done to maybe overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think at first we all thought it was going to be a little break. You know, we thought like, oh, we'll be online for a few weeks and then we'll meet up again. I had a student ask me, when do we go back? And I said, I honestly cannot answer that question. I don't know what's happening. So it became, you know, a couple years until I saw students in person again. And so that was a big change. And so part of it was making sure that my online course felt as much as a community as possible, because as I said, that's my teaching philosophy. So that was a big part. So I had to figure out ways for students to be able to connect with each other and feel like they weren't just passively sitting in front of a computer screen, you know. So that was a big hurdle and challenge, but I overcame it with a couple things. We did whiteboards on, back then I was using Blackboard Collaborate, so they would use whiteboards to like over breaks they would draw while I had like DJ stuff on so they could communicate that way, and they would get into small groups and talk and things like that. So we pivoted, and you know, I think that we were able to work around the parameters we had. The bummer of it all is I still notice that sometimes with my current students, because of the pandemic, the communication part, the teamwork part, they lost 2 years of experience with that, right? So I have to make sure that that's something that's included in my courses so that way they, you know, can get reacclimated to all that.
I'm glad you do that because you're right, there is a loss of a skill set and of some learning, and it's nice to know that you made adjustments for that to help your students. Which leads me into our next question is, kind of walk us through the learning framework class, which is called technically EDU 1300, and what you specifically cover in it.
Yeah, so I always tell people who are not part of college education, it's a Swiss Army knife class. It's the easiest way to explain it because we do everything. We write a 750 word page or 50 word paper. They do a presentation. They do visual aids. We talk about study skills, reading skills, writing skills, note taking, money management, mental health, diversity. All of these things are covered, right? So because of that, it is almost a different theme every week that we kind of weave together. And so because of that, it's a very helpful course for students and they really enjoy it. And one of the things that I try and make sure to do is tailor whatever our assignments are to them. So for example, the paper, they have 3 options. It could be about their career, their purpose, or how their time aligns with their goals. And the reason I do that is so that way they can use the paper to benefit themselves, right? Another assignment we do called Choose Your Own Adventure, they get to choose to either volunteer or attend an ACC event. So they do something that is going to get them to be part of our community, right? Whether that's volunteering or attending an ACC event, joining a club, whatever it is. So that way they feel that connection, because when we feel connected to a campus, you know, we're going to stick around, right? Because we feel like we belong.
So give us an example of maybe a typical student who takes the class, and what type of information have you found is most helpful to guide the student towards success?
So I'm really lucky because my class is a general education class, which means literally everybody takes it.
Oh, okay.
So I don't have a typical student because I have people who want to be lawyers, nurses, people who are going to radio, television, film, right? So people who are undecided, want to transfer. Because of that, that's why I tailor those assignments so they can choose what they want, because everybody's different. Everybody has different goals. Some people know exactly what they want to do. They're like, look, I'm going to be here for 2 years. I'm going to transfer to Texas State. I already know what classes I need. You know, they're ready to go. And other students are still kind of figuring it out. So while there's not a typical student, I think one of the biggest changes I see throughout the semester is a little more confidence, a little more shoulders back as far as like knowing what they want to do and feeling empowered that they can do it. And that's really like the biggest takeaway that I want, you know, is for them to feel like, all right, I got this.
It's so interesting that we find among student data that students who take success classes similar to yours have a 12% higher success rate and are more likely to persist in college versus students who don't. Mm-hmm. So how do you believe we should scale a class like this district-wide so we can set up even more students for success?
I'm really excited about that because our Chancellor, Russell, he talked about starting strong, and we're part of that, right? So that's really exciting that we're included as a part of that, the course. But we actually have a couple modalities. So we have 1,200, we have 1,300, which is what I teach, on 1,100. We have ones that are for specific groups. We have a brass section, we have Asadair sections, we have capital idea sections. We're in early college, high school. I mean, we're just really spreading our wings everywhere. So I think that if a student wants to take a student success course at ACC, they have a lot of choices, which is nice. So yeah, I think any student who wants to dip their toe in the learning frameworks pool, they got a lot of choices, which is really cool. So I just hope ACC keeps expanding that.
I love hearing that because some people are worried that SB 17 means you can't do certain things, but SB 17 does not prevent us from meeting students' needs. And by having these multiple choices of these different frameworks 100%. In the success course, they have a choice, and their needs can be met. So getting back to your class, how do you ensure that students feel welcomed, loved, and fulfilled while they're in your class?
They have no choice but to feel loved. They have no choice. So when students walk into the room the first day, usually I have cards out that have a core value on it, so they can choose that, and there's always donuts the first day. And so that just kind of sets the stage that like this is not going to be one of those classes where you're going to take in information, they're talking with each other. And then every class there's always snacks in the front of the room that they can get in case they're running late to class, they're hungry, because I know how that goes. When I was in undergrad, I was working a full-time job, going to school, eating while driving, right? So we've been there, and I don't want students to feel that way. So students know that I care about them, and find a lot of my office hours, some of them are spent talking about academics, but a lot of other times it's navigating how to get resources on campus, which is something that I take pride in doing. So yeah, I honestly, if somebody said that they didn't feel loved in my class, I would be worried, because I joke with them. I'm like, I'm your other mom. I'm the mom you never asked for, but here I am. Even if I'm younger than you, I'm still the mom you never asked for, you know? So yeah, I yell at them to sleep, to make sure that they get hydrated, that they take care of themselves. Yeah, so I'm a professor / mom. Yeah.
Well, Mom, as you know, we have a very diverse population of students. You mentioned that earlier, that there's no typical student. So with this diverse student population, are there any consistent gaps or struggles you're seeing, and are there areas of success that seem to be improving with these students?
Yeah, I have noticed since pandemic forward, the classes are less quiet. The first semester back, we all had masks on still. People were still getting used to things. People sat a seat apart. Like, we were really conscious about safety, which I loved. It made me feel comfortable coming back on campus. But because of that, students were kind of far apart. And so now, as students have been back on campus for a while, courses are back to their full class load, things are louder, which I like. I don't enjoy having a full class period where it's only my voice, right? So that has been a big thing. I've noticed that students are more willing to communicate with each other. I see students who hang out outside of class, who have formed friendships, which is really important to me. So that's something that I've seen that has been a big change. Things that students need or request, honestly, a lot of it has to do with mental health. There's a lot of students who, I'm very honest about my mental health. I have anxiety and depression. I'm very lucky, I got both. So because of that, I tell them, not the first day. I'm not like, hey, I'm Amber, I have depression. But they know pretty quickly because I'm honest about it. And so I talk about therapy and mental health. And because of that, students feel comfortable talking to me about struggles they may have. So there's a lot of me working with getting people connected to the counseling center, getting people connected through CARES to make sure that students have the resources they need so they can continue to persist.
Amber, thank you for modeling before your students that it's okay to be transparent, and it's also okay to seek the appropriate resources and help to overcome whatever barrier might get in the way of there being a successful person as well as a successful student. So, do you have any favorite student success stories from over the years?
Oh man, I mean, there's so many good ones. I have a student right now, she flew in from Russia the day before classes started last spring, walked into the classroom and was like, I'm here. And so she became my mentee. She's currently a supplemental instruction leader in my classes this semester. So it's been really cool to watch her flourish from literally landing in the United States to now being a member of ACC staff, which is wonderful. I also have had a lot of stories with specifically neurodivergent students who are very good at advocating for themselves. And so we have a lot of conversations about maybe assignment parameters that aren't gonna work best for them, right? And so we kind of work together to see, okay, for example, a paper. I don't like writing papers. You gotta write the paper, right? Like, we can't get around that, you know? Like, yeah, I don't like going to the dentist, but we gotta go. So because of that, I work with them on, okay, what part of the paper is hard? What can we do to, you know, make this easier? And so I think, honestly, the biggest thread of all of the students I think of when it comes to success is just thinking about the fact that they're advocating for themselves, that they're doing what they wished to do, right? That they're headed in that direction, and that they're completely fine asking for help and getting the resources they need. Because at ACC we have so many that, like, you know, they don't have enough time to see all of them. So when they get to actually use them and thrive because of that, I think that's really cool.
Amber, what a great way to start off the first half of our show, but there's lots more to come. We'll take a short break, but be right back. Stay with us for our next guest, a student from Dr. Sarker's class.
Hello everyone, my name is Regard. My happy place is the Accelerator. I am here from 7 a.m. in the morning until 10 p.m. every single day. The front desk staff are super friendly. They help you get whatever you need. This is my friend Yasmin. Hello. My favorite place is the Learning Lab. They have everything you need. Standing desks, you're tired, you want to stand up, to whiteboards. And if you get stuck, scan the barcode, the tutor will come up to you. I love charging my phone at the charging station, and if I ever get stressed, I go to my academic coach. They recommended career coaches to me, and they're the best people ever. They helped me with my resume, cover letter, and job applications. I basically live here now.
Welcome back to Voices Uniting Everyone with my guest, Dr. Amber Sarker, and now her student, Laura Escobedo, joining us from Highland Campus where she's studying occupational therapy. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Laura, tell us a little bit about why you came to ACC for college and how long you've been here.
I came back to ACC to attend the occupational therapy program, and I'm returning after 30 years, so I'm excited to be back in school.
And we're excited to have you back as well. So you're studying occupational therapy. What are you hoping to do when you graduate?
Well, right now I'm a CNA, so the occupational therapy fits into my work. So I'm hoping that I'll be done in about 1.5 years, and I'll be able to help people and continue caring for residents at my job.
And we know you're going to do a fantastic job because that's the person you are. Now,
thank you.
Describe for us your Riverbad experience, how you found a sense of belonging and purpose inside and outside the classroom.
Well, when I started, I actually got a little culture shock because I wasn't expecting so much good people. I was a little nervous to start. And as the days went by, I felt like I started to belong. I enjoyed going to Dr. Sarker's class. I look forward to going there because we will be able to be ourselves and be able to,
I can understand those feelings because during my days of college, first few days it was scary, but then, like you said, once I got used to the environment and I understood that adversity is normal, but it can be overcome with supportive faculty like Amber and other resources. And so we understand perfectly how you're feeling. In addition to Amber's class, are there some other areas of programs at ACC that enhanced your experience here?
Yes, there's been several programs that I've tried to connect with, especially at the Accelerator. There's a lot of information there, and they're able to help me with my schoolwork. I'm not very good at computers, but the fact that those resources are there helped me get through it and also helped me organize. I was able to connect with somebody at the Accelerator to help me get organized. So that's kind of been my goal through the semesters, to not just only learn, but to get organized and manage my time.
Laura, I like what you just said about identifying a barrier or a challenge that you face with using the computer. So is there one other type of barrier that you faced that you were able to overcome so far?
Well, the fact that I came back after 30 years, I really didn't know. A lot's changed. And computers was like one of the main things, but there was so much more resources. The school cares about the students, and it shows everything that's available, from food to helping you be a successful student. The programs, there's a lot of surveys that I get through my email, and with one of those surveys, I was able to connect with a program that's going to help me get better computer skills. I signed up for 2 classes this summer. So.
Laura, that's wonderful. You just encourage so many future as well as present students by indicating that when those feelings of being overwhelmed come, don't throw in the towel. There's things available that you can tap into, and you just don't know the transparency that you just gave, how powerful that is and how helpful that's going to be for so many students. Let's bring Amber back in just briefly for a second. Amber, what has been the greatest challenges you've experienced in your career helping students, both like Laura and unlike Laura, feel like they belong and can succeed with their higher education goals?
Well, I think one of the biggest differences between community college and a four-year university is that you commute, right?
Right.
And I commuted when I was an undergrad, so I talked to Laura about literally eating while driving to class from work, right? So I get it. And so I think that because of that, as a student, I was always looking for ways to feel like I belonged more on campus. Like I would be part of student clubs and things like that. And so my kind of drive with the Choose Your Own Adventure project is to get students to, if they were kind of thinking about it, like give them the permission of, you're getting a grade for it. You just got to go. You just got to go and tell me about it. So letting students find ways that they want to be connected to the community. So maybe it's taking tech classes, maybe it's joining the women's basketball team that we just started, you know, whatever it is, finding a way to connect in a new way, I think helps people feel like they belong.
I think you're absolutely right too, Amber. Laura, I'm gonna go back to you. We heard earlier from Amber a description of what the Learning Frameworks class does. So what were some of the lessons you learned from that class that helped you start strong in your journey here at ACC?
One of the things that I learned was strategies for a successful student. We did a paper and we kind of went through some information, and I was able to get an idea of what I need in order to be successful. And yeah, that's what one of my favorite parts was, being able to acknowledge and realize that some of the things that I need to get strengthened.
Laura, you need to teach one day yourself.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Amber, I'm gonna go back to you right quick. I know it's a sneaky question, but we gotta ask it. How was Laura as a student in your class?
Oh my gosh, let me just tell you. So Laura and I have a lot in common. When I went back to school at Texas State for my PhD, I walked in with a notebook and a pencil, and literally everyone around me was typing on laptops. And I was like, what is happening? Because when I was in school last, we didn't bring laptops to class. We just, you know, typed in the computer lab or at home on our big, you know, square computers. So it was a big culture shock for me. And so one of the first weeks of class, Laura came to my office and was like, I don't know how to submit this thing on Blackboard. And she was very upset about it. And so we walked through the steps, and I had a video that I sent to her, but I also gave her the steps. And so I told her, you know, when you submit it, I'm not gonna mark it late, just, you know, turn it in. So at home that night, I'm watching TV and I'm checking my email because I have no work-life balance. And I'm looking and I'm like, I did it. And she had like the cute little like celebration emoji with like the little guy with the confetti. So I was so excited. And now she's taken these micro-credential classes. She was on PackBack the other day, and it was not giving her any bad feedback. It was just giving her praise. Like even the computers are like, okay, Laura, you got this. Like I have nothing else to add, right? So she has come so far in what, 14 weeks? Yeah, so I mean, she's going to be running the place by the time she graduates at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's my favorite Laura story.
That sounds like both of you were having great fun in this learning process.
Yes.
So this question is kind of for both of you. Did you both get to work on a particular project or assignment that was pretty exciting?
I could start.
Yeah.
We did a activity, which is we put together a bunch of cakes and cake mixes and frosting and sprinkles into these pans, and we decorated them, and we had them sent out to a food pantry to donate to people, and I really enjoyed that. We all got to work together. Everybody had their little stations, and she has a big heart, and she does a lot for us, and she's always ready to feed us, and it was a pleasure to do that activity with her and her husband.
Yeah, he came too. We needed his muscles with all those heavy things.
Oh, yes.
I couldn't lift them. So yeah, I was like, you're coming to work today. Bring your husband to work day. Mine is the same. I love doing the Linda Cox does the service learning here. And so this year was my first year implementing a volunteer element to the class. And so this is my second semester doing it, and it's my favorite part, just because I know the feeling I have after helping people. Like, people don't realize how good you feel after helping somebody else until you do it. And like, you probably felt that way, like looking at them when they were all done, you're looking at it like, somebody who wasn't going to have a birthday cake gets to have a birthday cake now.
That's right.
And there's candles in there, there's a card in there. So if a parent was having a rough time, they see this and they're like, everything that I need to give my kid a birthday is in this thing, right? And so like the feeling you have when you're done with that, you're like, I brought joy to somebody who I don't even know, you know? And so that's such a cool feeling, and I love that through the service learning project, we get to have opportunities like that. Last semester we had a book exchange where students took used books, and we had almost 300 books go to new homes. It was at the bottom of the social staircase. Students could just pick up books, they could drop off books, they didn't need to read anymore. So anything like that I think is like a fun way to take what we're learning in class, but then also step out of it and remember we're part of a bigger picture.
That really is giving back to the community and making people in the community feel appreciated and valued, and like they count and matter too. How would you say that we as faculty and students can continue to improve upon ACC's making it a place where everybody belongs, feels valued, connected, and accepted?
Start strong is one of our pillars. Making sure that students have basic needs is another one of our pillars under the Chancellor's new plan. So I'm so elated that I'm a river bat. We have food pantries. We have counseling services, we have scholarships, we have emergency funds, right? So we have so many things going for us. The Green Pass, students can train, or the bus here for free. So we have a lot going on, that's great. The thing that I would add to that is just scaling some of those resources. So like, for example, at Eastview, we have childcare. It would be cool if eventually each region has childcare, right? You know, so that way, like, you didn't have to necessarily go all the way to Eastview if that's not near where you live. So that would be awesome. And like at Highland, we have the most amazing food pantry of all time, right? It looks like a set on like the TV network or the Food Network. Like you walk in there and there's like grocery little carts like at Target, and you can fill up a week's worth of groceries. Elgin Farm's giving us a bunch of stuff. So like I saw like a big pile of potatoes in there yesterday. So you can get fresh food, not just packaged food, you know? And that's amazing. And I would love if we could scale that to each region as well, you know? But one of the cool things I just heard about at Riverside is now they're doing a thing once a month with having hot food available as well as groceries. And so that's like a new thing that started this semester at Riverside, which I'm really pumped about. So I think it's already happening. So yeah, very exciting stuff.
That is exciting stuff.
Yeah.
From your perspective, Laura, what are some things that students and faculty can do to make ACC a better place for belonging?
Well, I feel like sometimes with all the hustling and bustling, people, you know, going and coming from classes, we forget that there's resources available. And, you know, reminding the students would be a nice gesture, like to let them know that there's help, and that if they're hungry, there's food and, you know, other resources as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. What a pleasure it was to hear from both of you today. Thank you for joining us on Voices Uniting Everyone today. And that wraps up our episode. To our viewers, thanks for joining us. To learn more about Dr. Sarker's Learning Frameworks class, which anyone can take, visit austincc.edu/Gen Studies. This show is about how we can change our world one student at a time, and we hope you find some inspiration in this. We'll see you next time on Voices Uniting Everyone, only on ACC TV.